Today I'm going to show you how to use the standards tracker in Echo. So the first thing you need to do is log into Echo and make sure you're using your teacher role. You can always check and make sure you're using your teacher role by clicking on your profile picture, and there should be a check next to use as a teacher. So I'm going to go into my course and I'm going to go to my editor. Now your course may look like this, and what you need to do to see what standards are attached to your course is you need to go underneath syllabus. You need to click on the little triangle. It says expand. And when you click on it, you should see objectives. And if you have any attached already, it'll list them below. The information below will tell you a red square means that a standard isn't attached to any activities in your course. And a green square means that it is attached. Then it'll also tell you if it's attached to like resources, things that are not gradable in your course versus things that are gradable, things that are going to have a grade attached to it. So to add standards to your course, you need to hit the edit button. Again, it'll list any standards that are currently attached to your course. I'm going to hit add. Now it gives you the option to import Common Core or state standards that are already in Echo. To do that, I'm going to hit, it says click here, so I'll click here, and it'll open up the import standards. And there's a list of things that they are currently have in Echo. So if I'm looking for Arkansas math standards, I would click on Arkansas, click the grade that I'm teaching, and then select math. And it's going to list all of the libraries that currently are in Echo for math standards for 10th graders. Now I can pick whole libraries, or I can get more specific and go into each individual standard itself and add those into my course. Don't think that you have to add every single standard all at one time. You can always come back in and add more standards at a later date. So, you might want to go in and just add the standards for this current project you're working on and maybe the next project. And then when you have more time, you can add to the standards in your course to make sure you have everything that's going to be covered throughout the school year. And then make sure you hit the OK button to add your standards. You also need to make sure that you always hit the save button when you're working with the standards in your course. Now, if the standards aren't currently in Echo, or if the standards have been outdated, maybe they're worded slightly different now, then what you'll need to do is actually click Add. And then it'll ask you if you want to, are you sure you want to add your own standards? You'd have to click Yes. This will allow you to type or copy and paste from another document standards into Echo as well. Once your standards are attached to your course, then you're going to start adding standards to your projects. So my current project is entitled Exploring and Understanding Data. And if I have this expanded out, it'll actually go ahead and list the standards that are already attached to this particular project. I can hit the triangle again and it'll hide that from me. So to add standards to a project, I go to that project folder and I hit the edit button. And I'm going to go to the objectives tab. And it's going to list all of the course standards that I currently have attached. And I'm going to find the ones that apply to this particular project, and I'm going to put a check mark next to it. can add one or as many standards that I need for this particular project, and then I'm going to hit the save button. And that will apply those standards to everything in your current project. Now, if I need to take standards off a folder or activity within this particular project, all I have to do is hit the little X next to that standard, and it'll remove that standard from that activity or folder. Now, to go into an activity, an assessment, and I need to attach objectives to it, once again, I'm going to hit the edit button for that activity and go to the objectives tab. It should default to parent over here. And what that means is right now it's only showing the standards that are applied to this particular project I'm working on. I can always go over here and change parent to course, and then it'll list all of the objectives that I have for the entire course. Now, the great thing we can do is we can actually go into an assessment or practice questions. Right here, guided reading. This is a quiz that I created here in Echo. I can go to edit. And not only can I go in and attach these standards to this quiz from the project, I can actually go into the questions tab and I can attach specific standards to each question. So on the right side, I can scroll over and I can click on one or more standards that apply to this question. Then I can go to question 2. I can attach different standards to it so that when Echo grades this quiz, not only will it give the students a score, but it'll actually track how well they did for each standard covered in this assessment. And that's really the power of the standards tracker. When we use these assessment tools and we attach these questions to each standard, that allow us to collect data from each student and make sure that we are covering those standards very well. So the way to see how students are doing, the first thing we'll do is we'll go to Gradebook. We can go over to the Mastery tab. And we can get an overview for the entire course, how we're mastering or not mastering a standard, or if a standard hasn't been attempted at all according to what we have attached in our course. We can also click on each standard and it'll load our roster and it'll show how each individual student is doing in our course. If they've mastered, not mastered, or if they haven't attempted a particular standard. We can also go to Menu, Reports, and go to the Mastery tab, and we can run reports that show us how the content that was covered per learning objective. We can look at the student proficiency per learning objective or standard, and actually get a score for each student based on each learning objective. Now, this data can be used to better inform our remediation, or if we have to reteach some material, we don't have to think that we have to reteach the entire project. We can look at and target the areas that students are struggling with the most. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know.